The Amazing Spider-Man issue 98 ends with Peter and Gwen having a happy romantic moment, with the narrator asking the question, "Who says we never give Spidey a happy ending?" But we all know what happens next. Merely 23 issues later, the Green Goblin throws Gwen Stacy off of the George Washington Bridge. And as Spidey tries to catch her with his web shooters, snap! Spidey kills her with his own webbing. The love of Peter's life is killed because of one wrong move made by him. Peter Parker has never truly had a happy ending. Sure, there have been some amazing moments in his life, but there's no denying that most of what Pete has experienced over the years are instances of loss, tragedy, and pain. Peter's uncle got shot. The love of his life was killed in his own hands. His aunt got shot as well, so Peter had to give up his marriage to the literal devil of the Marvel Universe to revive her. His body was taken over by Doc Ock at one point, and Norman Osborn raped Gwen Stacy, had twins with her, then proceeded to kill her. All this tragedy stemmed from his superhero life. Not only has his life been tragic since he became a masked vigilante, it has also been tiring and a gigantic mess. But that was part of the plan. Stan Lee and Steve Ditko made Peter have problems since his first outing as the webhead. He was a weird kid in school, was often bullied by Flash Thompson, and had financial problems, especially after Uncle Ben was killed. He not only had problems as Peter Parker, but he had even more as Spider-Man. He was accused by the press of being a menace. People often feared him instead of thanking him, and he was often brutally beaten up by villains. All these problems and tragedy were placed by Steve Ditko and Stan Lee in Peter's life for a purpose: to make him relatable. This was a very clever move, and it worked. Spidey was a huge success for Marvel Comics. But don't you guys think that Peter has had all too much? Stan Lee could have just sprinkled some problems here and there and some tragic moments here and there instead of giving him way more than a teenager could ever handle. I mean, Peter has worse luck than Donald Duck.
I got this.
And almost everything that could go wrong in Peter's life does go wrong. I mean, even reading the classic Spider-Man run could be depressing at times. Paul Lytle, in the spectacular book Webslinger, says in his essay, which I based this video off of, so go check it out, quote, "After about 100 issues, I had to put the books down. I was depressed. I couldn't take it anymore. The world just dumped on Peter Parker every issue, and he never got a break." End quote. Peter Parker's life is a mess. And when you think about it, all this tragedy and pain and all these problems Pete has experienced over the decades of comics that have been published have stemmed from his time as Spider-Man. If Peter would simply stop being Spider-Man, he would have a successful career, less complicated relationships, wouldn't constantly be battered by supervillains on a daily basis, and everyone around him would be safe from the consequences of his superhero life. And Peter knows this, but he won't give up the mask. He can't. He has to make his uncle's death count, because according to him, with great power must also come great responsibility. All this tragedy and pain Pete has experienced over the years are the price of being Spider-Man. Superheroes often get something out of the job, whether it be adoration and respect from the public or making new allies and friends. But sadly, that isn't the case for Spider-Man. Peter Parker actually loses a lot of things whenever he puts on that mask. But Paul Lytle, in his essay, says, quote, "Maybe this is part of what keeps me coming back. He is the greatest of heroes because he does it for the least." End quote. When Peter decided to become a superhero, he, unconsciously or not, also gave up on what he wanted most: a normal life. A life with a successful career, a steady relationship, and a life that was safe. This is beautifully illustrated by Steve Ditko in the last panel of The Amazing Spider-Man issue 30. For some context, Peter Parker was dating Betty Brant and was madly in love with her, but Ned Leeds proposed to her, and he realized that if he marries her, her life would be dangerous, and that she would also be in better hands with Ned than with him. Upon that realization, the next time Peter sees her, he snobs and leaves Betty without her ever knowing why. The caption actually explains it pretty well. And so, we take our leave of Peter Parker for now, as he and the girl he loves go their separate ways, both tragically kept apart by the mysterious, ever-present figure whom the world knows only as Spider-Man. Spidey shows an element of a true hero that we don't really experience much in comics nowadays, and that is sacrifice. Sacrifice can be an awesome theme in storytelling, with readers being touched by stories of people experiencing pain for the sake of other people's well-being. And sure, superheroes do sacrifice their life every time they go out and fight crime, but we all know that if a comic book hero ever dies, they will come back anyway. So superheroes sacrificing themselves in comics are not very impactful to the reader. But Spidey doesn't just sacrifice his life. Even though he usually wins the battles against supervillains, he often loses something as a result. He chooses to put others at the cost of his dream. And I find that so inspiring. Peter Parker is biting off more than he can chew, and yet he still continues to live his life the same way. He can barely fulfill all the tasks he lets himself go through, and yet continues to make the heroic choice in being Spider-Man, no matter how hard his life becomes. In The Amazing Spider-Man issue 50, when Pete recalls his motivation for being Spider-Man, he says, "I can never renounce my Spider-Man identity. I can never fail to use the powers which a mysterious destiny has seen fit to give me. No matter how unbearable the burden may be, no matter how great my personal sacrifice, I can never permit one innocent being to come to harm, because Spider-Man failed to act, and I swear that I never will." This is why we love Spider-Man. Peter, no matter how unbearable the burden may be, or how great his personal sacrifice, he will still put on that mask. He will always try to save the day, no matter what the cost may be, and even though he loses so much as a result. To be honest, it's shocking to see how long Spider-Man has lasted. Pete has experienced so much pain and so much tragedy in such a short amount of time, and somehow he still survives. Stan Lee and Steve Ditko created a character who has been beaten up in every facet of his life hundreds and thousands of times, and yet he comes back again and again. That is so cool! In The Amazing Spider-Man, issues 31 to 33, a story arc called If This Be My Destiny, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko gives Spider-Man hell. And in the final issue, in one of the most iconic moments of Spider-Man's career, he is stuck, trying to lift an iron obstacle that seemingly cannot be lifted, with everything in his life on the line. He says, "Anyone can win a fight when the odds are easy. It's when the going's tough, when there seems to be no chance. That's when it counts." Because of the stakes and hardships Spidey constantly goes through in his daily life, his battles have truly counted in the eyes of many comic book readers. They saw his determination and perseverance. Peter will never allow anyone to get hurt because he failed to act. No matter how hard the battle is, he will never give up. It's the core of Spider-Man's character, and hopefully it will forever be. I am Peter Parker. I am Spider-Man. And if I know anything, it's that anyone can win a fight when the odds are easy. It's when the going's tough, when there seems to be no chance. That's when it counts. You made a big mistake, Octavius. The memories you've left me are the key ones, the moments that define me. You haven't wiped me out. You've burned me in a crucible, distilled me to my core. And I know now, more than anything, I am the man who never gives up. That's who I am, and I will find a way to win. Spider-Man's overwhelming problems help us relate to him and show us that even larger-than-life superheroes have problems out of their control, just like us. But with these problems, Spider-Man's character truly shines through. A sacrificial hero and a determined person, willing to put others before himself, and always getting back up. Spider-Man teaches us that, yes, life is hard and unfair sometimes, but you are stronger than you think you are. And even though you don't win every battle in life, you can always get back up. The only way I can think of ending this video is by showing you a scene, a beautiful and emotional conversation between Peter Parker and a kid who is about to die in the hospital. And it comes from The Amazing Spider-Man 700.5. "I'm not a hero, kid. Not like you think. Sure, I have powers, but I'm no one to look up to." "That's not true. Don't say that. All the odds you faced, the villains you fought, the heat you took for being a menace. At the end of the day, even though you might have not won, you always got back up, swinging to the city again. If that's not a hero, I don't know what is." Spider-Man is a character that's both relatable and inspirational at the same time, and that is pretty cool. But anyway, that is all for today. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. Also, comment down below your thoughts and opinions on this video. I would love to hear them. Also, check out the book Webslinger if you really like this video and you want to learn more about Spider-Man, his history, some philosophy, and character analyses. I partially based this video off of one essay in this book, so yeah, you should probably check it out. It's pretty cool. But anyway, my name is Joshua C., and I will see you in the next comic book video.